Got it. All right. Cool. So real quick, as just a quick announcement, I made the executive decision to officially offer this Iron Forge coaching 100% free for life for all police and first responders, law enforcement and first responders. So what that means is if you are active duty military, police, EMS, or fire, and you can provide an official document that proves that you are, in fact, doing that, I will give you access to all of the resources that the Iron Forge has to offer, with exception of the one-to-one coaching. Obviously, if you want a one-to-one coaching, that's something you're going to have to pay for. But if you want programs to follow on your own and the nutrition guides and all the shit that we offer online, that's what we call low ticket. It's yours to consume and use and reuse forever. For those of you guys who are already first responders or active military who have paid, and the several of you who've messaged me and asked if you could have your money back, the answer is no. I'm not giving you your money back because I decided to be generous. Because I would probably end up having to go back and pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that I don't have when that value exchange and proposition has already occurred. So for those of you who feel that I should be giving that discount to different demographics or broadening it to more, like, let's say, more people like veterans or retirees, fuck you. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there straightforward like that. And the reason I'm saying fuck you is because I don't have to give discounts. I don't have to offer my services for free. In fact, the $24.99 I charge for this is an immense value in the first place, considering the amount of time and energy me and my team put forward towards investing our time into making sure these calls are good. So enjoy your free shit. And if you don't qualify, I'm sure you can figure out a way to hit up a truck stop once a month so that you can pay for your $24.99 a month to get all the support, advice, and help that you need. There's a guy waiting there. His name is Big Billy. And I know that this call is full of law enforcement now, but we're also full of lawyers. All right. Any questions about that? Cool. For those of you guys who are new here, welcome. For those of you guys who don't know why you're here, I'm going to take some time to explain. The goal of the Iron Forge is a little bit different than the fitness communities that you've probably seen on the internet. Okay. Our goal is one thing, and that's to make us as men more competent men. Fitness is part of that. The way that I look at it is what I'm able to offer you from a health and masculinity standpoint, from the positioning of what the Iron Forge offers, is four things. That's your health, all things pertaining to training, lifting, moving your body, exercising, kinesiology, being an athlete, being physically capable. When I say the word fitness, what I mean when I say fit is competent. And so physically fit means physically competent. I've got Sean Green on the call. I've got David Alexander. I've got Dominic. I've got several guys who are on this call right now who need to be fit for their job. What does that mean? Well, what it doesn't mean is how much you can bench press, how much you can deadlift, how much you can military press. Like, those are all great things, but they're not metrics to measure competence when it comes to the physical fitness level that's required for those types of positions. If I'm a police officer, not only do I have to be physically competent and capable in defending myself physically from an altercation, I also have to be able to move quickly and catch a motherfucker, right? And if you've ever been to the hood, those motherfuckers are fast. And so you got to be fast on your feet. You need to be agile. If he can outrun you, then you have no authority over him. Not only that, but you also need to be prepared. If he's ready to fight, you have to be able to fight. So fitness for a cop is a lot different than fitness for a bodybuilder. Agree? Fitness for a firefighter, a first responder, EMS. If you're a paramedic, you know, and you dread doing the fire call where you've got to go up 8 flights of stairs with a gurney only to find a 350-pound motherfucker sitting at the top telling you that he can't breathe. Raise your hand if you've been there. There you go. And I promise you, the degree of fitness that you need in order to accomplish that is a lot different than what you're going to be doing lifting weights in the gym. So this also applies to fatherhood. How much I can deadlift does not matter to my 5-year-old son. my 12-year-old daughter. They want me to be able to keep up with them. My conditioning needs to be where it's supposed to be. And so when I kind of looked at the fitness industry and I looked at what's available to us now, I came to the realization that there is nothing out there that's giving us the tools to be successful in life when it comes to fitness. And so what happens is we've gotten this, what we'll say, bastardized version of fitness, which is based upon these other sports and the aesthetics of it. Who here has a six-pack? Couple of you, right? Who here needs a six-pack in order to be a competent and capable father? No one. Who here agrees that a six-pack isn't a metric for success when it comes to being a good man? Everybody, right? Yet we're using that six-pack as the metric for success when it comes to our health and fitness. Why? Because that's what we see on the internet. That's what we epitomize. That's what's plastered as the example of what success in fitness looks like, when in fact, for most middle-aged men, unless you're on TRT or you're starving yourself, a six-pack is a less than 1% of the world population thing. It's mostly genetic. In fact, I would make the argument that if you're striving for a six-pack, which basically means 12% body fat or less, that's not a healthy or sustainable long-term strategy for your health, unless you're genetically predisposed to having that six-pack, like the guys who raise their hands. And so, again, going back to what our goal with the Iron Forge is, what I'm trying to create here is a realistic view of what a healthy, fit, competent, and capable man should be. And that's where we introduce programs like fire teams, which if you've done fire teams, you know, that's not like anything you've ever done before as far as your fitness is concerned. And if you thought you were in shape, do fire teams, and you'll very quickly realize you're not, because that program is designed to make you faster, stronger, better, more capable, more flexible, more mobile, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But most importantly, the piece that fire teams and all the other programs bring to the table is we want to help to develop your mind, toughen your mind. Every single one of you who is overweight or has struggled with weight in the past, the reason why that weight was a problem was not because you didn't know what to do. It was because you hadn't toughened your mind. You're mentally weak. You don't have the ability to make the right decisions. Instead, you choose to make decisions based upon how you feel rather than making decisions based upon what you know you should be doing, which is why you continue to fail when it comes to losing the weight. Our goal with the Iron Forge is to give you the skills to train your body, teach you how to be well conditioned so you don't gas out when you go up a flight of stairs or try to nail your wife. We want to give you the tools to understand how important martial arts is, and also encouraging you to be competent and capable with a firearm, which is the core four that we promote here. But also, we want you to be mentally resilient. And so this call every week that we do is intended to help you accomplish the mental resilience aspect of that, by helping you shift two things. Number one is your perspective. How do we learn? We learn by changing our perspective. That's all it is. Looking at the world from a different angle, right? And when we change our perspective, ultimately what will happen over the long term is, as our perspective shifts, your belief system and your values shift. Agree? So if I, as a coach, can help you to shift your values so that your health, your fitness, your nutrition, your training, your martial arts, your firearms competence are instilled within a system of values that you believe are required in order for you to be a competent man, then the likelihood that you're going to fall off the wagon when it comes to compliance with maintaining those things in the future is much lower. Who here goes to work every day? Everybody here, right? Is it because you want to? Is it because you're motivated to? It's because you have to. Agree? Now, for some of you, you're blessed. I get it. That's great. That's not the case for most people, which sucks. But the fact of the matter is, most of the guys on this call, rather than being at work, would much rather be sitting on a beach somewhere being served up a drink with fruit sticking out of it by a 20-year-old Latina. Agree? Okay. So with that said, The reason why you continue to go to work and to provide for your family is because your beliefs and your values tell you that's what you as a man should be doing. Agree? Randy is now to the point where he can finally enjoy his boat and go fishing. The fruits of his lifelong efforts and labor are starting to flourish, and he's preparing for retirement. Is that accurate, Randy? Yeah?
Years, but yeah.
You still go to work every day and provide for yourself and your wife and your family and make sure that you're there for your kids because that's what you do as a man, right? Okay. The goal here is I go to the gym, I make my nutrition a priority and make healthy decisions. I do all these things because that's what we do. Cool? And so I went through that spiel really quickly because, like I said, there's some new folks in here. And I just wanted to give you guys the perspective on why it is that we're doing what we're doing. So hopefully that's valuable. So what was it that we were going to touch on this week, James? Give me a real quick reminder.
It was just the adaptation, basically what you were just talking about, how fitness is just one of the four core.
Okay, let me pull up my notes here.
Hey, while you're doing that real quick, I'm gonna throw something at you, man. Hey, so kind of what he's talking about, you guys, like we're not motivated to do this, we're not inspired, whatever. I'll tell you, and I'll be honest, I didn't tell Josh this yet. I don't even think JT knows. Last week, I think my fire team knows I was gonna retire. Look at the face of people like, what? Look at Josh, like, gonna fucking retire. Literally, I was gonna walk the fuck away, fuck it, right? I was gonna train out the clients I had for their amount of time, do everything I could to put Josh and JT and the staff in the best position possible and retire. But one thing keeps you here, the purpose, right? At the end of the day, I've been on the phone with Josh before and I've talked to JT before and everybody's been like, man, fuck it. How many times have you heard Josh say, I was gonna shut the business down this week? About 40, 50, 11 times, right? That's what he says. I was gonna shut the business down, I was done. And he went to sleep with that mindset, but he woke up with a different one because of the purpose. If you're not living in your purpose, the core four doesn't matter. If you're not living in your purpose, motivation is a word that sells t-shirts. So what do you do when the shit sucks? What do you do when you dread getting up and you want to rush to go to sleep, but you're scared to go to sleep because you don't want to wake up? That's where this shift is. Because before, it's all been about what? 6 packs, 500-pound bench press, 600-pound deadlift, pound for pound, king of the fucking ring, tap out or blackout, right? We were hitting certain entities, but we never collectively put it together. Do y'all know who the fitness symbol and the symbol of manhood right now is in America? He just retired from the Eagles 2 days ago, yesterday. Does anybody know? Who is it? Jason Kelce. Not Travis, Captain I'm married to fucking Taylor Swift bullshit, but Jason Kelce. Why does America love him? Why is everybody infatuated as him as the symbol of a man? He's got a dad bod, but he's ridiculously fucking strong. Playing center for 14 years, right, in the NFL. His wife is an everyday fucking woman who doesn't chase fame or clout. He raises his two, I think he just had his third daughter. How many of y'all fit in that boat? You get up and you do your fucking job to the best of your ability. Your primary focus is taking care of your wife and kids. You don't really give a shit what everybody in the outside world thinks. It's just what you think, but yet you don't hold yourself high enough to where you feel like you have value. So you're okay looking in the mirror saying, this is my life, this is who I am. That's the shift, gentlemen, right? That is the fucking shift. I will take a 300-pound fucking stud with a beer gut and fucking forearms like fucking Coke cans over a 120-pound abbed up little dude with his fucking eyebrows done any day of the week. What fits you? What is best for you? That's where we're at. And that's what JH is about to deliver to you guys. I just hope y'all are ready for the fucking ride. You got your seatbelt on. And hopefully, 3 of you dudes decide when he gets done talking tonight that you want to come hang out with us and do this shit firsthand. And I think we got about 34 days, 35 days, something like that, gentlemen. And we're going to put this shit to the test. Man-to-man, face-to-face with 20 fucking dudes. Barbells, bullets, and barbecue.
I'm excited. So for those of you guys who don't know what he's talking about, we're actually hosting our first inaugural Iron Forge live event. It's going to take place in Savannah, Georgia on April 12th. And it's going to basically be a 3-day event or a weekend event where we have dudes from all over the country flying out to participate in an event hosted by us, where basically we spend the weekend teaching the core four. So we'll be shooting on a range, pistol, beginner, depending upon the skill level of the group, beginner to intermediate level pistol tactics. We're going to be doing some hand-to-hand combat, combatives, jiu-jitsu by Coach John here. And then we're also going to be spending some time doing compound lifts, clinics, and barbecuing. So it's going to be a fun weekend. Now, that said, I want to give you guys some perspective, right? The fact of the matter is, and part of the reason why so many of you guys or people in general struggle to stay on track with any fitness program is because these plans, they don't consider the fact that life exists. Agree? Right? Like you follow a plan online and it says, I have to go to the gym 5 days a week and work out for 2 hours and eat this specific meal out of a box. And in order for me to be healthy and in shape and look like that guy, I have to follow this specific, very, we'll say, rigid plan. Agree? And what happens if I get called into work? What happens if I was getting ready to go to the gym and my toddler has a diaper blowout up his back? What happens if I had a bad day at work and maybe I just need a day to pop a beer and kick back and put my feet up? What happens if I have an emergency? What happens if I shit my pants, which I just the other day actually gambled on 2 farts and lost when I got sick? What happens? And none of these fitness plans or these fitness coaches consider that. Not only do they not consider that, but then they have the audacity to tell you that you're not disciplined, that you don't have what it takes, that you don't want it. When in fact, I would make the argument that the men who sacrifice their lives to provide for their family and work tirelessly, the 10, 12, 14, 16-hour shifts, killing themselves so that they can give their family a life despite how they feel, despite what's best for them, are the most disciplined. The problem is they have not mastered the discipline of how to integrate their health and make that a priority while they still are able to fulfill the lifestyle needs for their family and provide for them. Every single one of you guys knows what it's like to wake up early and spend the fucking day doing something that you don't want to do, right? Being somewhere that you don't want to be, doing something that you despise with people that you don't really even fucking like, right? The thing is yes, there's excuses like Randy said in the chat. And yes, I can spew out all the reasons for why. But the fact is if I don't have a plan that's built and adaptable to my life, then I'm not going to be able to call those audibles and be flexible enough to know what to do so that I can maintain my lifestyle while also making my health a priority without there being friction there. There's a reason, and I'm going to give you guys a statistic here, okay? If you go on a diet and you lose a bunch of weight, statistically speaking, 85% of people who do that gain all that weight back in the first year. 85% of the people who go on diets and lose weight gain all of that weight back within the first year. Even more staggering, 95% of people who go on diets gain all the weight back plus more within the second year. What does that mean? That means diets have a 95% failure rate. And I'm going to tell you, it's not because you lack discipline, it's because the diet doesn't teach you the concepts of nutrition. It doesn't give you a deeper understanding of why that diet is dictating you're eating that way, or how it should impact your body or the effects of that diet and what's happening behind the scenes. If I develop a deeper underlying conceptual knowledge of nutrition, I'm no longer on a diet, I'm eating in a way where I'm able to make decisions that are correct for the situation. Most of the reason why people fail when it comes to losing weight in their nutrition is because they're asking the wrong questions. You need to be asking, how can I fuel my body in a way that's going to make it perform its absolute best? That's the question. I should not be asking the question, what do I need to eat to lose weight? That is not a sustainable long-term solution. But if you start asking, what is it that I need to consume so I can fuel my body so it can perform its best? What will then happen is I will start performing better, feeling better, my energy will increase, the quality of my sleep will increase, the hormones in my body will start to optimize and normalize, my cholesterol is going to get under control, my A1C and blood sugar are going to start to get under control, and then as a side effect, the weight will come off. Then when I start fueling my body for performance and I start going to the gym and I build muscle, the more muscle I build, the higher my metabolism. The higher my metabolism, the more body fat I burn. This is the formula for long-term success when it comes to weight loss. It's to not even focus on weight loss. It's to focus upon performance. Now, just really quickly before I transition here, what does that look like? Well, based upon the past nutrition classes and the things that we've talked about on these calls, what that means for you is you're drinking at least a half an ounce per pound of body weight per day. Okay. If I'm a 200-pound man, I should be drinking 100 ounces of water a day. If I'm a 300-pound man, I should be drinking 150 ounces of water per day. I just got the labs back for a perfectly healthy middle-aged man just the other day, and his kidneys are struggling. The reason his kidneys are struggling are for one reason. He's not drinking water. Does anybody here know what your kidneys are responsible for doing? Go ahead, Joe. You know.
They filter your blood. My wife has to drink so much water every day.
If you guys don't know, Joe's wife has one kidney and it's a transplant. And so if she loses that kidney, that's it. And the number one thing that they have her doing is make sure you drink this much water per day. Second thing, you should be consuming at least 1 gram per pound of your lean body weight in protein. You should be consuming a half a gram per pound of lean body weight of healthy fats. All right. Those 3 things are requirements: water, protein, fats. The water is a requirement for kidney function to keep your blood and everything moving. It's like your oil, right? The protein is to make sure that you maintain muscle mass and you don't go catabolic and start eating yourself. And the fats are to make sure that you have all the lubrication in your body that it needs to function, as well as your hormones are optimizing. Those 3 things are required. And then lastly, 8,000 steps a day. That's it. If you can do those things, half an ounce of water per pound of body weight, a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass for protein, a half a gram per pound of lean body mass of fat, and you walk at least 8,000 steps, the only way that you will gain weight and get fat and be overweight and unhealthy is if outside of those things I just gave you, you're also making 3 or 4 trips to the pantry and binging like Cookie Monster. Make healthy decisions. Now, there's a bonus I'm going to give you guys to help with this. Carbs are not bad, but you need to make sure that those carbs are accompanied by dietary fiber. What the fiber does is it prevents your insulin from going through the ceiling every time you consume carbs, and it normalizes it. And what that will do over time, as you guys implement what I just taught you, is you'll notice that those cravings that you get in between lunch and dinner, where you feel like you're starving, or after dinner, before you go to bed, they start to go away. Because those cravings that you guys are getting, it's not because you're hungry, it's because your insulin has fallen within normal ranges, and it's a sugar craving. Who here knows what I'm talking about, that craving where you're like, oh, I got to eat? That's your insulin. So if we can do a good job of making sure that all of our carb consumption is accompanied with dietary fiber, it's going to keep our insulin at a normalized level so that we're not riding this insulin roller coaster all day. Is there anybody here who's type 2 diabetic? This is also going to solve the problem of insulin sensitivity. And within 6 months of eating like this, you'll no longer be diabetic. I'm going to probably get Hillaried for sharing that, because it's probably costing the guys at Ozempic and Wegovy and all that a bunch of money for teaching you how to cure diabetes. What questions do you have about that? Anybody?
Hey, not a question, but the caveat real quick. Diets are about compliance. How long can you be compliant, right? What he's talking about and what we're teaching is going before that and breaking the habits. That's the part that you have to do, right? To sum that up, you being good at a diet is compliant. Well, what happens when you're no longer compliant? You're going to get adverse results, right? But if we break the habits that go along with an unhealthy diet, an unhealthy eating style, that's where you're going to get the success, right? And for you guys that are pre-diabetic and majority of type 2 diabetics, you ate yourself into that. So what we have to do is uneat ourselves out of it. Literally the simplest answer in the world is you say, hey, I'm doing this and it's not working. I tell all my guys, turn the fuck around. Literally do the direct opposite of what you're doing that's not working. And that is going to give you the result that you want. Hey, I'm weak, but I don't go to the gym. You lift weights, you get strong, right? Where's my man Randy at? Hey, I'm 400 pounds. I eat tacos and pizza every day. You stop eating tacos and pizza every day, now you're 200 pounds, right? Neither one of those guys were weak or 400 pounds, but you get the point, right? Literally do the opposite, but you have to break the negative habits that create negative results. So diets are compliant. So if you want to bow down and comply to somebody's bullshit, and give up your freedom of education, experience, and self-growth, go ahead. Comply to your keto and your paleo and all this other stuff. And then you're going to end up like they said on Ozempic and fucking metformin and all these other high quality, write out your fucking insurance paychecks, right? Stop complying and start breaking the habits.
So I have one more thing I want to touch on, right? I truly believe that as a man, if I am not capable of protecting my family from whatever threat may exist within my environment, I have some work to do. And so only you can answer this question. But let me just ask you a question. Are you an asset or are you a liability? If everybody on this call was put into a post-apocalyptic event, would you be an asset or would you be a liability? And if you can't confidently say that you would be an asset, what do you think your children and your wife think of you? Do they feel safe? Do they feel secure? Do they feel confident that man, that leader is going to lead them to safety? Because if you don't feel like you are, I can guarantee they don't. Agree? Now, I'm also not going to play in imaginary land. And I understand that my personal views on the competency required for manhood, the world that we live in is pretty fucking soft and weak. And the truth is it doesn't really take much to be head and shoulders above the quote unquote competition. I'm realistic. I know that it doesn't take much. And unless you're from like where I grew up, there's no real threat. The average guy can go through life without ever actually getting into a physical altercation. Most people don't need guns. In fact, I would make the argument that most men shouldn't carry a gun because they lack the moral fiber that's necessary to be doing that, not the physical capability. Now, I also am a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. And I also believe that the only way to stop bad guys with guns is good guys with guns. Very simple. Now, we can sit here and argue that point all day long if there's other people who don't agree. Quite frankly, I don't fucking care. The point that I'm making here is very simple. I'm realistic. My goal is just to prepare myself for what I perceive to be the worst case scenario. Prepare myself with a firearm, make sure I'm adequately trained. I understand that I am my own first responder. But secondly, I also know that the use of deadly force comes with a lawyer attached to it. So that's to be used as a last resort. This is why my ability to de-escalate a situation with martial arts is absolutely necessary. That's why I encourage you guys as men are doing those two types of training. And if you're a police officer or military, you know that those two types of training are in fact part of the deal. Unless you're in like the Navy or something, then you went through how to pull out while you're on a submarine or something, right? Okay, so who here is a police officer or former LEO? How many of you guys went through basic level 1 combatives training? That happened during the academy, correct? Okay, this is the same point that I'm making. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be the guy who's like, you need to be training every day, jujitsu. I do that. Why? Because this is what I do for a fucking living. I'm living the dream, right? I understand that you guys are family men. You have priorities. You have conflict. You have other things. So what I'm going to tell you here is after that long drawn out spiel is build the plan around your life from a place of integrity. At a minimum, you should be able to invest 3 days a week. I train 5 days a week, 6. If you can't do that, fine. Do 4, do 3. Fuck, we've had clients where we'd had them train 2 days a week because that's all the time they were able to invest. As long as you're doing it from a place of integrity and you've aligned your actions with your values and you're operating from a place of integrity, now there's no shame. I know I need to be doing this. As a coach, my job is not to tell you how you should prioritize or be living your life. My job is to give you the tools that you need to be successful with what you're able to invest. Your goal is to make your health a priority, but you should also be honest, practical, and realistic about what works for you and your goals. Then, once you've identified exactly what those goals are, now the next step is to make sure that the metrics that you use to measure success align with those goals. If I want to lose body fat, I'm not going to use strength to measure my success. If I want to be a better father, husband, leader, example for my kids, whatever the case may be, I'm not going to use the weight on the scale to measure my success. Create metrics that align with the goal. And then once you create those metrics, Now you can have tangible, specific things that you can use to measure success and set those goals around. That way you don't become discouraged. How many of you guys have started on a workout plan or a diet or something of that nature, and you're like, I'm frustrated because the scale's not moving, or I'm frustrated because I'm not seeing this result that I feel like I should be seeing? Yeah. And then you think about it, go, was that your goal? No, it wasn't. I'm not getting stronger, Josh. Well, is that your goal? Well, no, my goal is to lose weight. And then you get the classic, well, I think we need to change my plan. Or even worse for most of you guys, this isn't working. Throw your hands up, and what happens? You quit. That program didn't work for me. It's not worth it. It's too much effort. It's insert excuse here for why you didn't stick with it. And the real reason why you didn't stick with it wasn't because you weren't successful. It's because you weren't measuring your success in the right way. Give yourselves some grace. Last thing, you want to finish this one up, John?
So just going over function versus non-functional guys, and those of you guys that see there's a lot of Leos, firefighters, military, and just regular guys with physical jobs, just picking the things that are going to actually be functional for the way of life that you want to live. Kind of like what we're talking about with the goals, okay? When you're setting the goals, now that you understand what fitness is and how to relate it and not judge yourself based on, a pro bodybuilder, and that's how you should look. That's not even the goals that you have. So when you're diving into what's functional for you, what is going to be functional for how you are for your job, or what tasks you have to perform at hand for your job? If you're in law enforcement, you can't be super jacked and super tight and everything, and you go from 0 to hero and you have to jump out of the cruiser and then pull a hammy, or you're carrying up hoses to stairs, and you have to be functional based on the job that you are doing or the lifestyle and how you want to perform. Whether you're playing with the kids, you like to go hiking, you're doing martial arts. So if your goal is to have more endurance, you're obviously not going to be doing things that are going to be to put on all kinds of size and strength, because that's not conducive to the lifestyle that you have. And when Josh was talking about like setting goals, one of my guys 2 weeks ago, he was kind of bummed about himself, saying he's a little bit frustrated because his bench press wasn't going up. And 2 weeks ago, he was worried about his deadlift. And I said to him, I'm like, okay, what was your ultimate goal when we started this 12-week program? Your ultimate goal was to be healthier so you could see your grandkids grow up. You could get back to running and biking, the things that you ultimately wanted to do. And the list went on, and not one thing had to deal with a better deadlift and doing more on his bench press. So when we are comparing ourselves to certain things, you have to remember it goes back to the goals that you have, the aesthetics that you want based on those goals, how you need to perform at your job, and then how do you want to look with a combination of all of those to be like the top 4, what we consider for fitness, right? So when you're doing your functional versus non-functional, it starts with your goals, and it's going to be like cardiovascular goals, strength, muscular, flexibility, these types of things. We do so much to either get faster, get stronger, but a lot of the things that we don't do as far as functional type stuff too is mobility and stretching, right? Especially as we get older, we're like understanding how much we need more of that. Like when we're younger, we can get away with a lot of that. But if you're doing martial arts, jujitsu, any types of those physical activities, you have to really work on your mobility and stretching at the same time with your power, with your strength training, with your endurance training, or whatever that function is for those goals and those areas that we talked about. That's going to be important for you, right? So just making sure that the functionality and what you're doing is going to be wrapped around those goals that you have, and not doing things that aren't going to be conducive to that goal that you have, because then you're just going to be wasting your time. You're going to get frustrated, and that's where quote unquote failure comes in. So just make sure that you're doing everything based on the proper metrics and how you're judging yourself. And even though we live in a safe world, we want to make sure that or soft world, I should say, not necessarily a safe world, just being honest with yourself too, right? And when Josh was talking last week or the week before about, how would we perform? We touched on it a little bit today. If all shit hit the fan today, what would you be able to do? And our ego first tells us, man, I'm gonna handle business. Just like you see every UFC fighter go up there, when they're out there doing their thing, what happens? Both are talking shit. They're both gonna win, right? You see it in boxing, you see it in NFL, you see it in any sports. Both teams go out there to talk shit. Their expectations are super high. Well, when I was teaching martial arts, I would always tell my guys that you do not rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. And for you guys that are first responders, for you guys that are just typical dudes that want to be the best version of yourself, you have to go by that. You do not rise to the level of your expectation. You're going to fall to the level of your training. And if you're not in the military, if you're not in law enforcement, you're not a first responder, then substitute training to your fitness, your lifestyle. Those are the ways that you're going to determine how you're going to be able to perform in reality, not because of your ego or your expectation. Because I don't know about you, but I've been in situations before where my ego, or I thought I was going to be able to do one thing and it was the complete opposite. So how do we change that? Basing on those things that we're talking about with the function of proper functional fitness for those goals, right? Making sure that whatever it is that you want to accomplish, that's what you're attacking, and that's how you judge your matrix on it.
And that's actually a perfect segue. All right. So very first thing that I want to point out with that, okay, is we've all heard when things pop off and I get into a fight, I see red and I don't want that to happen, right? We've all heard that guy. In your mind, you think that you have this level of strength and ability, like you are just going to fuck this guy up. But the truth is, if you haven't practiced the ability to be calm and collected and decisive under that type of pressure, seeing red is actually an indication that you don't have the training. How many law enforcement, fire, or military have gone through a situation under fire or contact on this call? Okay. You guys know that in those situations, I can't see red, because if that happens, it's going to cost somebody their life. I have to be able to manage that stress, stay calm, and make the correct decisions based upon all the variables that are happening in that space. And if you're a police officer and it involves the use of deadly force, if your training is not where it should be and you make the wrong decision, not only is your career over, but it's very likely that you can find yourself in prison for the rest of your life. Agree? That's why it's so important that you practice these skills. One of the things that I know for a fact that's going to help every single one of you is go down and find the nearest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. Every single school there you can find will have first classes free. Go to their evening adult gi class, sign up, get your gi on, put your white belt on, and walk out there. And I guarantee you, you will get a wake-up call. And that wake-up call is going to be a couple of things. The first is, holy shit, I thought I was in good shape. Nope. You're going to be ready to quit by the time the warm-up is over. Then the second realization that you have is, I'm defenseless. I'm just a blue belt. I'm not special, still considered a beginner. And the one thing that I'll tell you is that most of the guys who do this, who come in, they're white belts, especially the ones without like wrestling experience or something, the word that we use is spazzy. They don't know what to do and they're just fighting for life. And as somebody with experience, I'm just manipulating their body and they don't even realize it's happening. John Tiano is a purple belt, which means he's even higher level skill than I am. By the time you get to brown and black belt in jiu-jitsu, they're toying with you. Like a black belt can take me 60, 70 pounds lighter than me and make me feel as if I'm helpless if he wanted to. Why am I telling you to do this? Well, the reason I'm telling you to do this is because if your goal, especially as a father or a husband, is to feel confident and capable that you're that protector and that you're that provider and that you can do what's necessary to keep your family safe, and you go do a class like that, it's going to completely shift your entire perspective on its head. Well, you don't know 45 ACP, right? All these fat guys with guns. Here's what I'm going to say. Every bullet has a lawyer attached to it. Are you prepared to pull the trigger in a situation that may just need to be de-escalated? That's why you need to have a background or at least a baseline foundation of martial arts. The firearm is the last resort, and that thing should not come out of its holster unless it's ready to be fired. Everything up to that point, this is what you have. Any alibis or last questions before we close this out for the night? Awesome. Was this valuable for you guys? Do you feel like the format that we had tonight was good? Was this useful for you? Okay, I feel like I saw some of you guys taking notes and you had some really good takeaways. So next week we'll be here at 7:30. John, James, thank you so much, guys. And if you guys have any questions or you need more help or input or whatever the case may be, drop them in the group. We'll be there. Talk soon, guys.